Hi everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. My name's Colleen and you're at Just That Two of Us Homestead. I really hope you can't hear the dishwasher. It's on its last rinse cycle and I don't have time to waste today, so I'm getting in a million things. I thought I was done with the roaster. I thought I was done with the tomatoes, but they just keep coming. And the chickens are sick of them. I've given them away to so many people. I'm talking pounds and pounds and pounds away. Frank did one last picking, and I've canned anything and everything I can imagine, but I've never canned tomato soup, and we do use it. I like to eat it every once in a while, but we do cook with it off and on. So I found a recipe for like a Copycat Campbell's tomato soup. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm being brave and doing a recipe I've never done with you guys, because you all know how my brain doesn't always work right. Plus, I'm cooking a new recipe for supper tonight, so my brain's going to be on double overload working, doing a new recipe for supper. That's going to be, I'm trying out that veggie loaded marinade I can. I'm using that in a chicken dish tonight, so if it turns out good, I'll make it again with you all. So this recipe calls for 20 pounds of tomatoes. So I've weighed out 20 pounds and it's using all the big tomatoes and some cherry tomatoes. And I still have a bunch of cherry tomatoes, but at least this will use the bulk of them. So I'm just going to put 20 pounds of tomatoes in the roaster. And then it takes onion and celery and basil. And I'll bring you back as I chop up every little thing and tell you what it takes, but it looks to be very simple. And then you hit it with like an emulsion blender at the end. And I don't think I'll get to canning it today because it's already kind of late in the day. And this will have to cook for a little bit. I'll probably do my trick with the strainer to hurry things along and thicken it because I want it thick, because generally I add milk to it when I want tomato soup as soup. So I'll want it thicker than thinner. So I'll just keep filling up my roaster, and then as I do the different vegetables or whatever it takes, I'll bring you back for that. And hopefully this will be the last of the tomatoes. Okay, the recipe says 2 large onions. I'm using kind of a large and a medium. 8 stalks of celery. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. And 20 bay leaves. And I counted 20, but they're not all big, but that's fine. I don't want the basil to be overpowering. And you don't have to chop everything fine because it's all going through the food mill or the tomato press after. So you just kind of have to rough chop everything, which is good. And then it's just salt and lemon pepper, which I'm not sure I have, so I'll probably just use pepper. And that's it. It says actually to do it on the stove top, but I don't know if I have a pot big enough to do all this. And I'd kind of have to stand there babysitting it, where in the roaster I can kind of just let it go. So that's what I'm doing. And I changed my mind about supper. It was actually Frank's idea because we both had a busy day. And I still have those frozen stuffed peppers in the freezer. And to learn another recipe for supper, and it's getting late in the day by the time I finish this, so I think I'll save the new recipe for tomorrow. And I might be brave enough even to bring you guys along for that. Ooh, I like rough chopping. It goes much faster. So I'm going to get this all done into the stage today of like the pureeing. and then tomorrow I'll can it. Because I'm just going to let it cook like slowly. And I think I'll cut this a bit finer though, so in case it gets stringy or whatever. And that's all that goes into it. It's a pretty easy recipe. So I'll just keep chopping away, and I'll add the salt and pepper. And it says to bring it to a boil and simmer for 20 minutes. Well, I'm just going to kind of let it slow cook in there. It'll all come to the same thing in the end. So I don't have to stand there and worry about it burning or anything. Oh, that onion was strong. Oh, yeah, it was a... Oh, the basil smells good though. Alright, I guess I don't have to chop this very finely either. If it's going to go through the food mill and it's going to be immersion blended, so I guess nothing has to be really chopped fine. So this is going really fast. I'm liking this recipe. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Through the tomato press, takes out the onion and celery. So I don't know if they were just there for the flavor or they're supposed to go back into the soup and then they get blended after. So I have to reread the recipe.
Just the flavor infusing.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's the next day. I ran out of steam last night. So after Frank helped me put it through the tomato press, and I was confused because the onions and celery weren't going through, which I should have thought about in the beginning. But in the recipe, it does say to put it through a food mill or a tomato press, and it doesn't mention anything about what to do with the vegetables. So we kept putting it through the press as we always do with the tomato pulp, and we put it through as many times as we can. So the flavor is there. I didn't pick any out to put back in. It's very flavorful. So I didn't worry about what had to go back in. I just left it as it was. So the recipe now says to put it back on the stove and to cook it down to the thickness that you want. But I'm going to do my trick of thickening the sauce because I don't want to stand at the stove for hours. So if you didn't see my ketchup video, this is how I thicken any tomato product that I want to thicken. I just take a fine mesh sieve or strainer and I just pour the whatever tomato product is I'm doing. It can be tomato sauce, it can be pizza sauce, it can be ketchup, and I just swirl it around to get the excess liquid off. I'm not going to do the whole thing, I just want to thicken part of it. It's supposed to be a soup, but it's still a bit liquidy. Because if I'm going to use it as a soup, I still like to add like milk to it so it will thin out when I use it as a soup. So see, I get this nice little like pasta ball. Put this over here. I'll do one with you close up because I'm only going to do it a few times. And then we're going to put it back on the stove, immersion blend it, let it warm up a bit, add a cup of sugar, and then it's ready for canning. It's really a simple recipe. I was just confused a bit there with the, I just knocked over a jar of lids and rings. I'll be right back. I'll show you what I mean by, like, it's already a nice consistency for, like, excuse me, a tomato sauce or something. But if it's for a soup, I want it a little bit thicker. So when I do add milk or whatever, it's thicker. Just take what I want to thicken, put it in my strainer. And swirl it around. And you end up with a wonderful tomato juice on the bottom. And this one would be very flavorful because it has the seasonings, the celery, the onion. Oh, and by the way, I did have lemon pepper. Who knew? It was never even opened. It was just sitting in my spice cabinet. There. I have my little sauce ball. So I'll just do this 1 or 2 more times. Put my thickened pasta back in there, and I'll put it back on the stove. Not pasta, my thickened tomato soup. Okay, so I got it at a thickness I think I like. It might be a bit too thick, but it's kind of cold right now, so I'm warming it up and I'll see the thickness then. And I reserved all the juice that I took off, so if I find it too thick, I'll just add more of the liquid back. But I'm going to let it warm up. Then I'm going to add a cup of, it specifies organic sugar, and I have organic sugar. And then I'm going to use the emulsion blender. And then at that point, it will be ready to can. So I'm going to get my canner set up and my jar set up while this is warming up. It smells already like regular tomato soup. So I'm kind of excited about this because these were just way, way, way extra tomatoes I had lying around. Although I thought it was going to make more for 20 pounds of tomatoes. I thought it would make a lot more, but I'll take what I have. All right, it's thoroughly heated through, so I'm going to add 1 cup of organic sugar. It does say you can use honey as well, but I'm going to go with the sugar. I'm just going to let that heat through, and then I'm going to do the emulsion blender. And I'm pleased with the consistency that I have now. Just give it a few minutes with the sugar to dissolve, and we're almost done. Oh my goodness, friends. This soup is delicious. Delicious. I had my reservations and I don't know why. I've never made anything like this before. It's a wee bit foamy right now because of the immersion blender, but I tasted it and I had Frank come in and taste it. It's like Campbell's, but way better. Like the seasonings are perfect. If anything, I think I would have reduced the sugar just a touch, like not a cup, but not 3/4, somewhere in between. But my gosh, it is delicious. I'm only sad it only made like half of this pot. So let's see how many pints we're going to get out of it. My jars are hot. My canner's hot. This has to be pressure can. It's at my altitude 10 pounds for 25 minutes. She doesn't mention anything about headspace. So I'm going to do 1 inch. I just can't believe how good this is. And now I'm mad because my tomatoes are finished. Oh, it's so good. And I love the consistency I got it at. So I can use it in a recipe right at this consistency. Or if I wanted to use it as, I don't even know if I would add milk now. Because like when I would open a can of soup, I would add the milk. Because it is so tasty just the way it is. Yes. Debubble. I'm just going to do an inch. Wipe my rim, clean lid. These are the new jars I bought, so I'm using the lids and rings that came with them. Oh my gosh. I hesitate to do new recipes when I haven't seen or heard of anybody doing it before because I always worry about wasting the product if I don't like it. But like I said, I had these extra tomatoes, so I thought, oh, let's just go for it. And now I wish I had more tomatoes. I spilled on that one. All right, so I'll finish filling them up and I'll let you know how many we get. 6, 7 maybe. Let's see. Okay, it made 6.5 pints. So into the canner, and they're going to process for 25 minutes. So I'll see you when everything's done. Well, this recipe is a winner, winner, winner. It's an easy recipe. It's an easy canning project. And I got 6.5 pints and the most delicious tomato juice I've ever had, because when I was doing my trick thing there, all the liquid that came out made the most absolutely delicious tomato juice. Frank and I will flip a coin who gets this half pint for lunch. And I got 6 pints, but I made mine thick. So if you were to make yours thinner, you would probably end up with 7 or 8 pints. But this is the consistency that I wanted. And I probably shouldn't have even compared it to a Campbell's soup. The recipe's titled Copycat Campbell's Tomato Soup, but it's way beyond that. It's much more elevated. The flavors are just so good that I wouldn't dare compare it to that out of a tin can. It's that good. And I'm very, very happy I tried it. I made it. I'm just disappointed now that I don't have any more tomatoes to make more, but it'll definitely be a priority for next year because it's really that good. I'm very happy with it. It was a project that I would like to add to my tomato rotation every single year now. So that was fun. I'm glad when a new thing that I tried turns out so well. So thank you so much for spending time with me in the kitchen. I really appreciate it. And until we're together again, take care.